Remember when Floyd Mayweather bounced that Japanese kid around the Saitama Super Arena?
Body shot by Nasukawa now. Mayweather just comes in and throws his own body shot. A beautiful right hand. Everything he possibly can. And Mayweather drops him again.
Leaving him weeping in the corner while Money danced without a care in the world? Well, that wasn't just some kid. That was Tenshin Nasukawa. And with a final record of 44-0, he's arguably one of the greatest kickboxers of the modern era. And well, he's a boxer now. A really good one.
Got the right hand to work well. Right as I
encouraging him, and that may have been what he was baiting him into right there, as an onslaught of punches causes a knockdown here in round 3.
But that transformation didn't happen overnight, and even longtime fans may have missed the steps along the way. So stick around to discover Nasukawa's boxing journey from puzzling exhibitions to competing near the pinnacle of his weight class.
Employed the efforts of Christian Medina. Ooh, a big shot there.
For anyone out of the loop, Nasukawa is an undefeated combat sports phenom who's been making waves and winning belts since he was just 16. With technique refined since childhood and weapons sharpened against the world's best, the Southpaw crushed the competition with bread and butter counters and high-flying kicks, all the same. And now, still in his athletic prime, with no signs of slowing down, Nasukawa has holstered the kicks and turned his attention to the sweet science. At only 7-0, he stands at the precipice of a world title. But what were the significant events that brought him here? Keep watching to get caught up on Tenshin Nasukawa's boxing beginnings before he becomes the next big thing. Now, let's go back to New Year's Eve 2018, when Nasukawa first laced up the boots, the Mayweather Fight. In what was arguably the worst first impression of all time, the then 125-pounder introduced himself to boxing fans by taking on the 50-0 GOAT, who was just beginning his exhibition tour of legalized bank robbery. Compared to today, the 27-0 kickboxing version of Nasukawa hadn't really adapted anything for boxing other than leaving his feet on the floor. It makes sense because, depending on who you ask, it wasn't always a punch-exclusive affair, but when Mayweather pulled out at the last minute, Rising, and by extension the young Nasukawa, were willing to accept any terms necessary to get the highly publicized match back on track. You've probably already seen the fight, if we can even call it that. Other than a couple of good punches, like this patented Nasukawa counter left that seemed to flip Mayweather from fun-loving to fearsome, it went about how you'd expect when an undefeated master takes on an undersized beginner. A left hook to the temple, a right hook, one last stand, and it was over in under a round, with Mayweather banking $9 million, or around $60,000 per second, before Tenshin's corner threw in the towel. And for a fighter like Nasukawa, who'd only known winning under the bright lights, it was traumatic to say the least. It was an exhibition match, but the disappointment I felt was very strong. The match with Mayweather taught me that we live in a dirty world. I realized that I was naive. All anyone sees is winning and losing. That's about it. Instead of a world of people cheering him on for daring to be great, he was dogpiled by ringside observers, ridiculing him for even trying. Many things happened before the fight, and the rules that were clearly decided were turned upside down. And I realized that trusting everyone is no good, so I decided not to. I'll only trust people that I can talk to and see if they're worthy of that trust. Hardened by worldwide exposure and the dark side of the fight business, the young talent wouldn't sulk for long, and Nasukawa went on an absolute tear, kicking his way through anyone who stood across from him for the next 3 years. But all the while, Nasukawa remained driven to switch to boxing. While he still had unfinished business in the sport that raised him, in 2021, he began testing the waters with some cool exhibition matchups under the Rising banner. In June, Nasukawa competed in a 3-round exhibition boxing match with a twist. Each round, he'd be met with a new opponent, almost like a Shark Tank sparring drill, but in front of thousands of fans. He took on current Rise Bantamweight champion Koki Osaki, standout kickboxing veteran Hiroya, and JMMA icon Hideo Tokoro in that order. While we can't glean much from this one, it's a fun watch nonetheless, and served as the next step in Nasukawa's boxing journey. The Japanese legends did their best to push Nasukawa to his limits, targeting the young striker with some real heat when they got the opportunity, even if they couldn't do much against the striking superstar. Months later, in his final bout for Rising, Nasukawa took on the former Pride lightweight champ and UFC veteran Takanori Gomi at the 2021 New Year's Eve event. Despite the vast size difference, the pair engaged in a solid exhibition where Tenshin showcased his incredible speed, tagging Gomi with some decent punches while barely avoiding the MMA veteran's reckless power. That said, he didn't stuff the takedown. While neither man truly went for the KO, I think that was mainly due to an unspoken gentleman's agreement, because Nasukawa already had his next real fight on the schedule, and it was one of the biggest in Japanese kickboxing history. In what would be Nasukawa's last professional kickboxing bout, he took on fellow standout Takeru Sugawa in a super fight dubbed The Match 2022. It was a massive event that broke Japanese pay-per-view records and packed the Tokyo Dome with over 50,000 fans. As some have described it, the bout between Nasukawa and Takeru was the closest thing kickboxing had to a Mayweather-Pacquiao situation, determining the best of an era. This was Nasukawa at the peak of his powers. In an action-packed fight, Tenshin used his superior speed, shot selection, and dynamism to outclass his chief rival. He dropped Takeru in round 1 with an absolutely sick left hand, and left little doubt who reigned supreme, capturing a unanimous decision from 5 judges after 9 fantastic minutes. Even though the match didn't push him to his absolute limit, for Nasukawa, Takeru was his kickboxing campaign's final boss, and the victory was the perfect way to roll credits before switching to a different game, the timeless classic called boxing. His debut was sensational, taking on the JBC's number 4 contender at 122 pounds. Tenshin showcased renewed footwork, better suited to boxing's closer quarters than the sport that made him. And his southpaw jab was just as potent, if not more so. He also unleashed some solid body work and created some awesome impacts by finding angles in close. He was also quick on counters, able to pull the trigger on a moment's notice, especially the straight left and the check right hook, which earned him the first knockdown of his career. And with fluid combinations like this, his opponent couldn't do much except rely on toughness. My favorite sequence of this fight is this one. Pressed to the ropes, Nasukawa constantly places his lead glove in the way to disrupt Yonaha's work. He then slipped past an uppercut while stuffing the follow-up hook Yonaha was trying to line up. That's some excellent awareness for a debutante. And all the while, he was still a showman. Nasukawa's sophomore effort was more of the same, outclassing his more experienced opponent with sharp counters, turns on a dime, and some fantastic lateral movement that had him looking like a matador against his Mexican opposition. His multi-level offense looked even better, and his punches off of in-close pivots remained just as lethal as his debut. While his third fight ended due to an ankle injury, it was a kind alternative to how it seemed to be going for Nasukawa's opponent. the Japanese star connected with some nasty shots to the gut, and even found time to show off during the minutes it lasted. Just 6 months later, Nasukawa took on the 17-1-1 Jonathan Rodriguez, a counterpuncher who had the potential to push the young Japanese prospect for his first ever 10-round contest. Instead, Nasukawa put on a clinic, unleashing his most vicious offense yet, using his superior speed and setups to blast Rodriguez back to the drawing board. He caught the American with a stellar straight in the second round. And even though the bell intervened, it only delayed the inevitable. In the third, the boxing newcomer got him again, stepping inside for added impact. The ensuing combination put Rodriguez down and earned Nasukawa his fourth win. After a competitive fight against Gerwin Asillo for the WBO Asia Pacific Bantamweight title, Nasukawa took on his first actual test to determine where he stood against the elite operators at 118 pounds. The former WBO world champion, Jason Moloney. In an excellent contest that tested the young athlete's mettle, the Aussie veteran took Nasukawa to the trenches, nearly dropping the Japanese fighter in the sixth. To his credit, Nasukawa showed impressive punch resistance, good movement, and went toe-to-toe when he had to. Plus, Nasukawa had some remarkable moments against the former belt holder, including the showboating body shot. His lead hand remained effective, using it to target the chin and disrupt Moloney's offense. And he constantly chipped the body with the rear hand, a classic tool in Nasukawa's utility belt. While it was a nail-biter at times, he left the fight with another win, moving to 6-0. In his most recent outing, Nasukawa moved to 7-0, and bested Victor Santillian over 10 rounds, placing himself right in the world title mix at 118 pounds. While Santillian isn't close to the level of Moloney, Nasukawa's activity and willingness to compete show that he's serious about vying for the bantamweight crown. I like to think of Tenshin as a kid who never stopped doing what he loved, martial arts. I believe that so much of his creativity and effectiveness in the ring can be traced back to what's clearly a lifelong fascination and a desire to inspire the people around him. His dad put him in karate at age 6, and Tenshin never looked back, always chasing the biggest stage. And in boxing, he's just about there. As of the writing of this video, he's set to take on former champ Takuma Inoue for the vacant WBC World Bantamweight title. If he gets it done, he'll be in the deep end more often than not from here on out. And even if he doesn't, I still think that's true. One thing's for sure, a battery of high-stakes challenges awaits as Nasukawa quests for glory between boxing's four posts. Please look forward to it. For the Modern Martial Artist, this has been Coby McKinley, wishing you happy training.